The puppet character is an absolutely classic archetype, usually native to anime fighting games, where you control not one, but two entities, both working in harmony over the course of the fight. It could be a shadow, a doll, a bear, or a dog. Puppet characters are usually defined by high difficulty, but also high efficiency. There are exceptions to both, but for the most part you'd be hard-pressed to find a puppet character that didn't compensate for their high skill ceiling by being extremely strong once they've been optimized. The first one you probably think of when envisioning this type of character is Zato 1, a mainstay of the Guilty Gear series, present since the first installment. It's true that Zato 1 does embody the puppet character archetype, and he's been around a real long time, since the first Guilty Gear game all the way back in 1998. Surely, this makes Zato 1 the first ever puppet character, right? Well, not quite. A detail that I've seen quite a few people are unaware of is that in the original Guilty Gear, Zato was not a puppet character. Oh, he still uses his Shadow Eddie in his moves, but unlike basically every subsequent Guilty Gear game, Eddie cannot be controlled separately. So yeah, Zato is a fraud, and this means the vaunted title of the first ever puppet character belongs to another character from a game that's also fucked up in many ways. Lovely viewers, I'd like you to bid a warm welcome to Devo the Cursed, the first puppet character in fighting games. As far as we know anyway. God knows there's some obscure pre-98 fighter waiting to render this video's title utterly inaccurate. Anyway, in a game that's full of wacky and inventive characters, Devo being the progenitor of an archetype known for out-of-the-box and wacky design isn't that surprising, and he establishes this legacy not just with his general design, but his difficulty. Devo is infamous for being hailed as the hardest character to play in Heritage for the future, for a variety of reasons relating to the workings of his moveset. For reference, Dio is often considered second to Devo in terms of difficulty, and the main source of Dio's difficulty is his combo execution. His main B&Bs, while extremely damaging, also require extremely good execution as they're full of hard and tight links that leave little room for error. However, outside of that, he's really simple. His specials, his neutral, his pressure is all so easy to grasp, but it's executing his big damage combos that makes playing him efficiently so hard. Devo has extremely hard combos, but of course, as a puppet character, he has to deal with the unique challenges that manifest from controlling another entity, in this case a doll. Playing Devo efficiently is a big task that asks a lot of the player, but the reward comes in the form of amazing neutral control, stunning and damaging combos, and frightening Okizeme and mix. However, as you all probably know, I like to start at the absolute basics, so let's do just that. Looking at his stats before we even press any buttons, this character is kind of blessed. For one, his crouching hurtbox is one of the shortest in the game, making him one of the kings of low profiling. It's also particularly helpful for his offense as Devo has lots of good lows, so being able to avoid certain attacks while doing them is an appreciable bonus. Devo also sports a very fast roll that can be hard to throw on reaction due to the creepy crawling animation and very high defense. His stand-off defense ranks as the highest in the game along with Whole Horse and Hoingo. And stand-on is a bit of a different story, but we'll get there when we get there. For someone who did very little actual fighting in the manga, Devo's own normals are remarkably solid. His 5A is his jab, coming out in 3 frames. Unfortunately, as far as jabs go, this one isn't great. It's minus on hit, so there's almost no combo potential, it's not active for very long, and the hitbox is pretty poor. 5B sports similar frame data and hitboxes, but it does have some use as a combo ender. It'll either launch or knock down on hit depending on combo length, a fairly situational niche, but it's still something. 5C, thankfully, makes up for the mostly mediocre nature of these two ground normals. It's tied with 5A for his fastest grounded normal, and while not plus enough to link out of anything, it has high hit stun and it's special cancelable. Admittedly, this is a little inconsistent because of the way Devo's stand works, but in most cases, this will be your go-to combo starter and pressure tool when used in tandem with his specials. Altogether, it's a fantastic button with lots of utility. Devo's crouching normals, funnily enough, all share the same animation, and they all benefit from Devo's low-to-the-ground crouching stature. 2A is pivotal to Devo's combo structure. It's fast and plus on hit, making it excellent for continuing combos from 5C into a special. It's also your best normal to spam during tandems too, altogether making it a valuable tool to have. 2C on the other hand is one of Devo's main combo enders. It's 4 frame startup, the same as 2A. Why are this guy's grounded heavy so freaking fast? Well, it certainly makes for a strong tool, combining fast speed and superb reach with a hard knockdown on hit, allowing Devo to easily set up Okizeme. And just be wary that this normal is 2 hits, and both can be special cancelled. You won't get the knockdown if you cancel the first hit. Within the scope of Devo's air normals, one really stands out. JC is an incredible jump-in with a large hitbox that gives it strong cross-up potential. It also has infinite active frames until Devo lands, making it quite the annoying normal to deal with. It's not to be spammed though. Silly as it is, Devo's hurtbox during the whole thing makes it pretty easy to anti-air, so use it sparingly. His JA and JB aren't to be ignored as they're faster than JC, making them superior as air-to-airs. JB is better between the two though, since it has a better hitbox which gives it longer reach. His dash normals are a bit of a mixed bag. Dash 5C is decent for its range and being special cancelable, and Dash 2C ain't bad either. It keeps the knockdown of the regular 2C, but the extra momentum from the dash is an immense asset to his screen presence. Seriously, this normal goes far. Some of these dash normals are just bad. The normals of his that aren't all that good have even worse dash versions, and for whatever reason, 5C, one of his best normals, has a backdash version, 445C, that's inferior in literally every way. It's insanely slow, highly minus on hit, and how exactly are you supposed to land this already pretty small normal when you're sliding away from the opponent? Seriously, why does this normal exist? He also has 6B, a pretty long range tackle, and 3C, which is also not great. Finally, his throw is pretty solid. Devo jumps up into the air and slams the opponent down. Christ, with physical strength like this, you wonder why he needs a doll to carry out assassinations. He could have just fucking wrestled Polnareff. Anyway, it's solid damage, especially when Devo is at low health, potentially doing a staggering 27 damage to Dio. Just watch out because some characters can punish it. Now normally after this, we'd move on to Devo's stand-on normals, then specials and supers, but since these all require me to talk about his stand, I figure it would be appropriate to get into the mechanics of how Ebony Devil works in this game, and more importantly, how remote mode works. So before I introduce Devo's stand, let's talk about remote mode. Shocking to me I haven't discussed this yet, but here we are. Remote mode is a feature accessible to a small portion of active stand characters. Besides Devo, Kakyoin, New Kakyoin, Avdol, and Polnareff can all go into remote mode. Now I've explained this many times before, but here we go. Active stands possess the ability to go into stand-on mode to modify their moveset and provide a number of benefits. With most active stands, the stand and user move as one, but in remote mode, the stand takes over as the primary fighter. The stand itself maintains the same moveset and same properties, so they all have double jumps, Kak and New Kak stands can do air dashes, they're all immune to chip damage and getting knocked down, yada yada yada. The big weakness of this function should be fairly obvious, but if you haven't ever played this game, don't worry, I'll explain all of that a bit later. For most of the characters, remote mode is mostly a giant gimmick, but for Devo, it is the crux of his game plan. You see, every character with the remote mode functionality can choose to literally never use it at all. Every character except Devo. He's a bit different. You see, Devo does not get the luxury of choosing between normal stand-on and remote mode. When Devo goes into stand-on mode, he can only use remote mode, because his stand manifests as the doll that fights alongside him. With the exception of some specials, Devo and the doll move individually, completely separated from each other. Devo's doll has its own set of normals and it's involved in all of his specials and supers. It's also a fast little bugger that can move around the screen very quickly, coming equipped with fast walk speed and a pseudo air dash, something that's quite necessary for this character. Anyway, let's get into the normals first. Stand 5A and Stand 2A are Devo's fastest stand-on normals, both having 3-frame startup. Stand 5A is a strong normal in lots of different ways, with good reach making it great for poking. On hit, mashing it 4 times will perform an auto combo of sorts, but you can also cancel it into specials if you want to start a combo. It's also a very strong pressure tool, with great frame advantage on block and the speed making it highly spammable. Stand 2A, on the other hand, is Devo's main tandem spam button along with Stand 2B. You can use both of them in neutral along with the solid dash buttons thanks to their speed and reach. The doll's small size actually makes it pretty tough to check too. Stand 5C is It's got a lot of range and you can hold the button down to increase the distance it travels and the amount of hits, but it's pretty vulnerable to jump-ins and punishes in general. It's also not very rewarding on hit. Due to a particular remote mode property I'll talk about later, effective use of the doll requires being able to command the air efficiently. To that end, Stand 2C, Stand 5B, and Stand 6A can all be used as effective anti-airs. Stand 5B is the fastest one, Stand 2C has the biggest hitbox, and Stand 6A is kind of a good middle ground in terms of reach and frame data. Air-to-airs though are definitely more important, especially in certain matchups. Stand JA and Stand JB are both very, very similar, but B does more damage, so just use that. Stand JC, well, this normal is the big silly. It's similar to Stand 5C in that you can hold it to increase the duration, but as an air normal, it's a lot more irritating to deal with. The large hitbox does a great job of protecting Devo, and it can be used to start combos. Good normal for sure. Stand J6B deserves special mention. This normal is really something else. When performing it, the doll moves forward through the air, giving this move crazy reach. The fact that you can do it so low to the ground essentially gives the little demon an instant air dash that can be used to start combos. It's a fantastic neutral tool, a good way to start pressure, and overall gives the doll fantastic maneuverability. The doll's throw is good as well, but be very careful where you throw the opponent, because it is very possible to throw the opponent towards Devo, which is not a good thing. In those situations, you usually want to switch to standoff ASAP, otherwise you risk giving up your turn. The doll can also very easily set up tick throws with Stand 2A. In terms of specials, Devo has 3, each of which has a stand on and stand off variant. 236X has the doll leap towards the opponent and spin while biting them. This is primarily a combo tool, but it can make for a competent pressure tool as well. An important thing to note about Devo's specials is that because Devo and the doll can position themselves at different areas on the stage, it's possible for all of Devo's specials to hit the opponent from behind and for them to get sandwiched between the two, which can be extremely difficult to deal with. Keep that in mind, but also keep in mind this special can be punished if the opponent can react accordingly, since it has very long startup. This is especially true for the B and C versions, since the doll takes forever to begin running and trying to bite the opponent, so don't use it willy-nilly. An important distinction between the stand-on and stand-off version of Devo's specials is that they tend to be much faster since the doll is already active, but admittedly they do lose a lot of their threat factor because Devo cannot attack alongside the doll in stand-on. Stand 236X is a prime example of this. It can't be used as a pressure or combo tool because it's minus on block and hit, and it's so damn slow, which makes it quite useless. 214X, now this is where the fun starts. This special benefits tremendously from the whole puppet gimmick because it hits overhead. Now it's slow enough to not be usable in neutral or during pressure, but this is a primo Okizeme tool enabling terrifying high-low setups and even unblockables. This and 236X make his Okizeme very strong. The stand-on version of 214X is, once again, pretty unsafe and generally not that useful. 22X has the doll spin a knife around. Unlike the last two specials, this one actually has more use in stand-on. Stand 22X is his main combo ender for damage and building mad meter in the process, especially since you can mash the buttons to get more hits. And that particular version is necessary because all three versions are highly unsafe on hit, meaning a cancel into super or tandem is required to avoid a punishment. The standoff version can be used as an occasional sneaky pressure tool, but it's also possible to punish and it can't be mashed for extra hits. Devo supers, oh boy. Lots of garbage here. What the hell is supposed to be the point of 623AA? However, one super of his truly stands out. 214AA Barrel Roll Crusher. The small amount of time I spent discussing this super during Heritage for the Future is Broken does not do justice to how insane of a move this is. 214AA's startup invincibility lasts for what feels like an eternity, allowing him to do it with very little risk as it'll effortlessly blow through most offense. What makes it one of, if not the best reversal in the game, is that Devo can actually combo off of it. With damn near full screen range, it's very hard to escape and the full super will play out even if the initial hit is blocked. It enables huge damage with little risk of triggering IPS. It's just an all-around insane super that heavily improves his offense and defense. In matchups where Devo has to deal with jump-happy or highly mobile characters, this super will do you well. Do note that the stand-on version isn't nearly as good as, again, without the ability to have Devo attack where the doll is biting, it's extremely unsafe and doesn't have nearly as much damage potential. Devo's tandem is fairly standard except for two unique properties. Since Devo can position the doll on the opposite side of him, it's actually possible for the stand to approach from behind. This is completely exclusive to Devo as other remote mode characters will have the stand approach from the front even if it was behind the opponent. The second is that Devo is the only character who can activate his tandem in the air. With the various sandwich shenanigans Devo can perform, air tandems are a very tricky thing to deal with, and Devo can use it to push mix-ups or create scrambles. So, as I mentioned before, Devo is considered to be the hardest character in the game to play. There's quite a few reasons for this. Even the barrier to entry can be difficult to pass given the abstract nature of his kit and his game plan. Being a puppet character, it's hard to piece together what you have to do at the basic level besides hit buttons and do JC. Still, once you start putting the pieces together, there's even more to uncover. In general, I think the two pillars of his difficulty come primarily from his combos and his defense. Devo has some of the most flexible combo structure in the entire game, but that comes at the cost of his combos also being very difficult. A big part of this, of course, is the actual execution. position. Many of Devo's best tandem confirms and conversions require very tight links. A prime example of this is 2A2A into S plus 5A. This is an extremely important part of his combo game as he needs it to transition into stand-on before doing tandem in his B&Bs. It's a 2-frame link, and as someone who struggles with these kinds of links in games like Street Fighter 6, which has a buffer specifically to make them easier, yeah, this shit is hard. His main tandem confirmed stand 5A into 2-2C includes a 1-frame link and a pretty awkward tandem cancel with finicky timing. There's more details I'm leaving out for brevity, but the general idea is that a lot of his combos either require very difficult links or buffers to actually put them together. I'd recommend watching Duckstuffer's Devo B&B guide for a more detailed breakdown. The other big aspect of Devo's combos that arguably shapes the character's combo structure more than anything is doll positioning. Comboing in and out of Devo's specials and stand-on normals is very important, but the issue is that many of Devo's specials will whiff during his combos if the doll isn't close enough to him. Devo's combos often require the opponent to be sandwiched between the doll and himself, but if he happens to be too far, he really struggles to get any meaningful damage. This is why Devo needs to make use of all his different combo extensions. It's not just to divvy up the combos you can do so that you're not sitting through the same B&B over and over again, it's because some combos literally do not work at certain distances. As a result, doll repositioning is very important to Devo, which means you need to make good use of your time in stand-on so you can get the doll back into position where Devo can use it to get good damage. Devo combos can be like an elaborate puzzle. You need to have the right pieces to put together depending on the position of Devo and the doll, and you need to know how to make everything fit together for the specific situation you're in. Certain combos might not work depending on stand gauge length, and some are weak to the IPS, which is the system that breaks certain combos to prevent infinites and easy TODs, or at least it's supposed to. And you also need the execution to make it work. It's also important to note that his best ender can change based on the situation as well. If you're going to go for Oki, you'll want to end it with 2C, as 2-2C, the damage ender, is unsafe on hit and needs to be cancelled into a super. That's the hard part of offense for Devo, but defense can be just as stressful. As I've mentioned, Devo exclusively uses remote mode in stand-on, meaning you can only either control him or the doll. Remember earlier when I mentioned that big weakness of remote mode? Well, it's time I revealed it. You see, when you're in remote mode, the stand user, for the most part, cannot move. In addition, they cannot block. While in stand-on, Devo is completely and utterly exposed, and even while his stand is active, the opponent will always face him. Oh, and it doesn't end there. In addition to being unable to block, being in remote mode increases the damage the user takes by a lot. There's a horrifying contrast in the damage Devo takes in standoff, where he normally has high defense, and stand-on, where one super can chunk him for almost 50%. The issue becomes keeping opponents from trying to get in on Devo. Against characters with fast dashes or jump-ins, you need to use the doll's quick movement and good air-to-airs to keep him protected, or quickly go back into standoff. The problem with both of these is that they can fuck up your Devo and doll positioning, potentially ruining your sandwich and forcing you to set it up again. Devo's stand-on is very strong, just like every other active stand, but it's also much more committal than any other stand-on, because for every moment you're in stand-on mode, Devo is at risk of taking massive damage. It's a different game from most puppet characters, because you're fighting tooth and nail to protect the character himself instead of using the puppet to augment the character, and it can be very difficult to maintain. With that said, Devo is a constant balancing act between his own Oki and mix-ups with the doll's sandwich and using the doll's big normals for constant damage and harassment. It's not an easy balance to maintain, but properly doing so can make Devo extremely scary to fight. He has unrivaled screen presence and terrifying offense, but also very large holes in his defense that can make him risky to play. At the end of the day, it all comes down to how you want to handle balancing Devo's two states, because realistically, there's an infinite amount of ways for Devo to handle this juggling act. This plays heavily into Devo's biggest strengths and his most crippling weaknesses. Devo, as I said, commands respect in neutral because of the doll's sandwich, allowing him to exercise his pressure at 2 different points on screen. It's hard to really keep him away because there are just so many points where he can either mess you up with his specials in standoff or his doll's normals in stand-on. 214AA gives him an extremely versatile defensive option that can allow him to effortlessly begin his offense. His incredible spear, Oki, mix, and combos allow him to do seriously good damage and make every interaction count, and he's got a surprisingly flexible kit that can handle many situations very well. However, he struggles a lot due to the constant balancing act of switching in and out of stand-on. The fact he can eat shit just for being in this state is a real problem and gives him some very polarizing matchups. Devo is usually considered a high-tier character, but he can struggle against his high and top-tier contemporaries in some ways because of the intricacies of his kit and his game plan. The biggest problem matchups for Devo are against characters who can easily punish him for even attempting to go into stand-on, be it because of the high mobility or certain moves the doll has no way to handle. Sometimes it's both. Dio stands out not only because of the many ways he can zip around the screen, such as his teleport, his fast dash jump, and 663A. The real killer here though is Dio's stand-on knives super. It's a fast, highly invulnerable super that throws a set of projectiles, and Dio can use it on the ground or in midair. The speed and angle of the knives makes them extremely good at hitting Devo while he's in stand-on, so being in this state is even more of a risk than it already is. Even outside of stand-on, Dio's maneuverability and ground normals make this a profoundly miserable matchup for Mr. the Cursed. Other large, screen-encompassing supers like Midler's 214AA, Iggy's 623AA, or ironically Devo's own 214AA can spell big trouble for him and requires him to keep track of how much meter the opponent has. Ultimately, it's up to the player to figure out how to navigate the mountain of challenges Devo's unconventional stand-on mode and kit present, and that's what I believe makes the character so appealing, but also so hard. Devo has maybe the most open-ended game plan I've ever seen. There are so many different options for him to run offense, his Oki, his combos, and every Devo does something different. But it's that open-endedness that also makes him so difficult. Still, there are people who have managed to unlock this character's potential, and it's an absolute spectacle, exposing both his monumental strengths, but also his weaknesses. I find it funny that if you look at a lot of very old tier lists from pre-2019, Devo is usually placed in the mid-tier spot, outshined by characters like Alessi and Hole. I have a strong feeling that was just because of the utter lack of optimization, but here we are now. It's also cool to see how future puppet characters have diverted from Devo's design in a way that maintains the strengths of his character, but changes some of the problems he had. In an archetype defined by individuality, he still stands out as being highly unique, and easily one of the coolest characters in Heritage's roster. So that's Devo the Cursed, the very first puppet character, a very, very cool character. He'll give you a hell of a time trying to learn him, but it's all worth it for those sick combo highlights. It was a lot of fun getting a deeper understanding of his moveset and seeing how he compares to other puppet characters. Knowing the fact that you can't control the puppet and Devo together for the most part really does give me an appreciation for how far people have pushed this character. Anyway, that's all I've got for now. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you for watching, have a great night, and take care. Hey everyone, first off I want to say sorry for the wait on this video, but it's here now, so here's the point of the video where I thank all my wonderful channel members. So thank you to Old Man Han, Cammy the Killer, Jazba, Mortis, Arg Seals, Wormy, Terry Hints, Perfect Orange, Pet Shop from Fortnite, Happy the Hap Hap, HPHK, Gondog92, Warfles, Isaac the Collector, and Kira the Stowaway. Thank you all so much for the support. It means a lot to me, and I love you all, and that's kisses for all of you. So yeah, thanks for watching everyone. I promise the next video won't have as dramatically long of a wait as this one did, but thanks for bearing with me like you all do. It means a lot to me, so yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you for watching, have a great night, and take care.